invite you to do something that I do a lot with folks to just get our brains working. So I invite you, not a requirement, to stand. And this is not aerobics. And if you remember Biology 101, remember this little slice of stuff between our two lobes called the corpus callosum? This is to get both sides of your brain working. So right hand to left knee. You're going to bend into it, and then left hand to right knee. And the slower you do it, the better. Oh. It gets harder, doesn't it? Because you can do it backwards. But the idea here is you're trying to get the right and left side of your brains connected. And then you can take this and do next board meeting, right? But that's the whole point here, is when we're sitting for a long time, our brains, our cerebral spinal fluid stops moving, and our brains stop, kind of shut down. So anything you need to do to loosen yourself up, I'm going to get a piece of paper I left on the back table here to just kind of get you going. Set my 10-minute timer.
I'll give you a 5 and a 1, 2, by the way.
Okay. All right. So, my name is Susan Berg, and I'm here to talk to you, or actually, we're going to do it together. We're going to work on this funky concept called learning from the future. Let me tell you a little bit about who myself is and what my work is. I'm kind of like your home improvement contractor, except instead of working on homes, I work on organizations. And it's very practical, it's very results oriented, and when something's not functional, in homes it's a room, in organizations it's teams or departments. When you're growing too fast and you need more space, you need different ways of working, I'm your gal. That's what I do for a living. I work with organizations. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about what it means to learn from the future. And I'm a big secret revealer here, right off the bat. I'm not going to tell you anything you don't know. So there. But the challenge is, what we know is not what we do. Ask my husband. I'm very good at communicating. I know a lot about communication, maybe more than the average bear. I've studied it, blah, blah, blah. Ask him when I really want something and I get that tone in my voice. So what I know is not necessarily what I do. So the concept of learning from the future is, how do we get out of old habits? A couple of key concepts about learning from the future. One is, the definition in my mind is, learning from the future is to discontinue our focus on looking backwards for answers. So let me say that again. Discontinue our focus on looking backwards for solutions. Now, just keep in mind, I didn't say don't learn from the past. Past is prelude to our future. It's important to understand our history. But one of the things we have a tendency to do is, oh, well, how did we do it last year? Well, this always worked. Oh, let's not reinvent the wheel. And we kind of often find ourselves repeating things because they're comfortable, as opposed to thinking about what could we play with and toy with. The other side of learning from the future is, instead of creating gigantic projects, anybody ever been on a project where somebody said, oh, we're going to do this, and it takes months and months and months to write the project plan, and everybody's on board, but by the time the project actually gets ready to be implemented, people are going, oh, well, wait a minute, we forgot, I don't think this is going to work anymore. But we do it anyway, because we put so much effort into building that plan based on what we thought used to work. That's what I mean about looking backwards and letting ourselves get stuck instead of letting ourselves move forward. So the flip side of learning from the future, and we tend to think this is riskier, but it's actually not, is how do we prototype? How do we get ourselves in the mode of failing soon, failing often, failing quickly so we can learn? Let's try this. That didn't work. Let's try from this angle. That didn't work. Oh, that doesn't work. Let's do this. And that's a whole, that is a paradigm shift, right? It's a whole new way of looking at how we learn and how we think by thinking this way instead of letting ourselves think and work that way. So I want to give you a little invitation into what it means, what it feels like in this whole thing to learn from the future. Because getting a little uncomfortable is actually the hotbed of innovation. It's where we start sort of standing on our toes and kind of get a little more interested and kind of upbeat and ready for more. So I'm going to invite you, instead of just listening to me, to actually practice this. So I invite you again to stand. If you're not able, it's okay, you can do it sitting, but there's something about what happens to us when we stand. Because our skeleton and our muscles have to hold us erect. And our brain starts working a little bit differently when we're pulled together like this. So I'm going to ask you to do this. If you would, please close your eyes or just cast your eyes downward so you can start to create some space for you. And I want you to start thinking about some of the things that you've been doing and that you don't want to take with you in the future. Think about an organization. It could be a family. It could be a community organization. It could be your work, your career, something that's going on in your life. And I want you to literally look back over your shoulder right now. Go ahead. Keep your eyes closed. Look back over your shoulder and look at yourself being part of that way you've been doing something. There's something that you're participating in, however subtly, that you may want to let go of, that you don't want to take into the future with you. Now I'd like you to face forward and open your eyes for a moment. So you've got some image, some picture of something that, even if you've just kind of been watching it and not saying anything, you know it really should change. So now we're going to do something a little different. Close your eyes again. So close your eyes. Kind of be careful in front of you. I want you to take, however small, one step forward. Just physically move yourself one step forward. And I want you to imagine you're trying something out that you've been wanting to try out for a while. Something that really feels like a trial and maybe feels a little risky, but it kind of gets you excited. You can feel the energy sort of bubbling up. Take a couple breaths and just process that for a moment. So when you're ready, open your eyes, and I'd like you to turn to your neighbor and tell your neighbor what's been going on in 1 minute and what you'd like to jump into. We're going to take 1 minute each turn. So go ahead and turn to your neighbor. Hi. I know there's more to talk about, but did anybody feel the level of energy go up in the room? Yes, yes. That, you can sit if you want, but stand if you will. That's fine. That's what pulling energy into the future is about. How do we spark people? How do we find that passion that's inside of people? I and many of my colleagues around the world who do this work together, we use a process, a framework called the U process. And there's more to say about this, but one of the three primary elements of this is one of the things we have to do when we change is we have to let go. So in the home construction business, we let go of that cramped, old, stuffy thing that we've been involved in, which may feel like some parts of your organizations. And then what we do also to make this work is we also have to let come. But what we don't do is what we're often trained when we've analyzed the problem is our sort of MBA brain says, okay, we've analyzed it, let's go. The difference here is we're saying, whoa, we're going to stop. We're going to take that minute to look back, to look forward, and to make some space so we can think better together. Because one of the things that happens when we're on the whirlwind, right, is we don't think together. So, you know, our organizations are based on this predict and control model of how we work. And I don't know how well that works out for you, but the last time I tried to predict and control my kids, my husband, my coworkers, my teammates, and as a world, here we are, as a world, we didn't do so hot when it came to 2008, did we? So the idea here is how do we get everybody in the organization to sense and respond? Because if we're this way, we have more people thinking, we have more people sensing the world around us and able to respond. So that's a teeny tiny tidbit of learning from the future.